I refused to sign the papers. My dad's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before, and for a split second, the entire graduation party went silent. "Sign it, Emma," he hissed through clenched teeth. "Your brother deserves that house more than you do." I tightened my grip on the armrests of my wheelchair and shook my head. No, the next thing I knew, his hand slammed against the side of my chair. The world flipped. I hit the ground so hard that the air exploded from my lungs. My 8-month pregnant belly struck the hardwood floor. Pain ripped through me like a knife. I screamed, and then warm liquid flooded down my legs. My water had broken. Everyone stared. Nobody moved. Not my father, not my brother, not my stepmother. As I lay there shaking and clutching my stomach, I looked directly into their eyes. "You'll regret this." Then, only minutes later, sirens filled the street, and everything changed. I never imagined my brother's graduation party would become the day my family destroyed itself. Or the day they finally got exposed. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 32 years old, and until that night, I'd spent my entire life trying to earn love from people who never intended to give it. My father, Richard, had always worshipped my younger brother, Tyler. Growing up, Tyler could do no wrong. If he got a B, Dad celebrated. If I got straight A's, Dad asked why one of them wasn't an A+. If Tyler forgot his chores, Dad laughed. If I forgot mine, I got grounded. It was like living in a house where I was permanently invisible. I kept telling myself things would change when I got older. They didn't. When I was 24, I was hit by a drunk driver. The accident shattered my pelvis and damaged my spine. After multiple surgeries, doctors told me I would never walk normally again. The wheelchair became my reality. While I was learning how to rebuild my life, my father barely visited. Tyler showed up once. My stepmother never came at all. I remember sitting alone in a rehabilitation center, watching other patients receive flowers and visitors. My phone stayed silent. That should have been enough to make me walk away from them forever. But family has a strange way of keeping its hooks in you, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Then something unexpected happened. I met Daniel. He was a physical therapist who volunteered at adaptive sports programs. He didn't pity me. He didn't treat me like I was broken. He treated me like Emma. The first time he made me laugh, I realized I hadn't genuinely smiled in months. 2 years later, we got married. For the first time in my life, I felt safe, loved, seen. Then life hit us again. Daniel died in a construction accident. One phone call, that's all it took. One phone call and my entire future collapsed. I was 28 years old and suddenly a widow. I thought I'd never recover. Then I learned something that shocked everyone. Daniel had quietly invested in several properties before we married. One of them skyrocketed in value. When everything was settled, I inherited enough money to buy a beautiful home outright. No mortgage, no debt. Mine. It wasn't a mansion, but it was security, it was freedom. It was proof that my future still existed. My father suddenly became interested in my life again. Funny how that happened. The calls started, the visits started, the fake concern started. At first, I wanted to believe he had changed. Then Tyler graduated college, and suddenly everything made sense. Tyler had accumulated nearly $90,000 in student debt. He had no job. No savings, no plan, but according to Dad, none of that was Tyler's fault. It was everyone else's, especially mine. 3 months before the graduation party, Dad invited me over for dinner. Halfway through the meal, he leaned forward. "You have that house all to yourself." I already knew where the conversation was heading. "So, Tyler needs help. He needs a job." Dad's smile vanished. "Family helps family." I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was ridiculous. Where was family when I was learning how to use a wheelchair? Nobody answered. The silence said enough. A week later, Tyler called for the first time in years. "Hey sis," I nearly rolled my eyes through the phone. "What do you want?" Wow, straight to the point. "What do you want?" Another pause, then he finally said it. "Dad thinks maybe you could let me move into your house." "No," the answer came instantly. His tone hardened. "You have extra rooms, and you don't need all that space." I hung up. That should have ended it. Instead, things got worse, much worse. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. The baby wasn't planned. After Daniel died, I had frozen embryos we had created during fertility treatments. For years, I couldn't bring myself to use them. Then one day, I realized something. I wasn't moving forward because I was afraid. Daniel had wanted a family, so had I, and for the first time in years, I felt ready. The pregnancy was difficult. Because of my spinal injuries, doctors considered me high risk. Every appointment came with warnings. Stress could trigger complications. Falls could be catastrophic. Everything had to be carefully managed. When my father learned about the pregnancy, he didn't congratulate me. His first question stunned me. "So who gets the house if something happens to you?" That's when I stopped pretending he cared. Then came the graduation party, the event that destroyed everything. The party was held at my father's house. Dozens of relatives attended, neighbors came, family friends came. Everybody wanted to celebrate Tyler finally earning his degree after nearly 7 years. I almost didn't go, something felt wrong, but several relatives I genuinely loved would be there, so I showed up. The moment I arrived, I noticed people acting strangely, whispering, watching me. My stomach tightened. An hour later, Dad asked everyone to gather in the living room. I thought he wanted to make a speech. Instead, he pulled out a folder, my folder. The folder containing property transfer documents. My blood ran cold. "What is this?" I asked. Dad smiled. "Just a family discussion." Every instinct screamed danger. Tyler stood beside him. Grinning, then Dad addressed the room. "Emma has been blessed with opportunities." I stared at him. He continued. "And because family takes care of family, she's agreed to transfer her house to Tyler." The room erupted with applause. My heart stopped. They already thought I'd agreed. Someone had lied. I felt dozens of eyes turned toward me, waiting, expecting, pressuring. I looked at Tyler, then at Dad, then at the papers. "No." The applause died instantly. Dad blinked. "What?" I said. "No." His smile vanished. The room became painfully quiet. "You already discussed this." "No, you discussed it." Tyler stepped forward. "Don't embarrass us." I almost laughed. "Embarrass you?" Dad shoved the papers toward me. "Sign." "No." His voice grew louder. "Sign them." "No." The tension became unbearable. Several relatives shifted uncomfortably. My aunt looked horrified, my cousin looked confused, but nobody intervened. Dad's face twisted with rage. "You selfish little girl." I felt my baby kick, a reminder of what truly mattered. "I am not giving away my home." Tyler slammed his hand onto the table. "You don't deserve it." The room gasped. I stared at him. "What did you just say?" "You heard me." His eyes burned with jealousy. "You got lucky." Lucky. The word hit harder than any insult. Lucky, as if paralysis was luck, as if widowhood was luck. As if years of pain were luck. Something inside me snapped. "You think losing my husband was luck?" Tyler looked away. Dad stepped between us. "Enough." Then he turned to me. "Last chance." "No." For one brief moment I thought he would calm down. Instead, he exploded. His hands shot toward my wheelchair. Everything happened so fast. A shove, a tilt, gravity. Then impact, agony detonated through my body. My belly struck first. I heard people screaming. Someone yelled my name. Then warm fluid spread beneath me. I knew instantly. My water broke. Panic flooded every corner of my mind. The baby, oh God, the baby. I grabbed my stomach and cried out. Pain rolled through me in waves. My father stood frozen. Tyler stood frozen. Neither moved. Neither apologized. I looked directly at them. "You'll regret this." Then my aunt finally reacted. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. The next few minutes blurred together. Sirens, paramedics. Questions, pain, fear. I remember one paramedic kneeling beside me. "Stay with me, Emma. I'm pregnant. We know, my baby. We're doing everything we can." Then I heard something unexpected. A voice behind me, my cousin Rachel, crying, "No, no, no." I recorded everything. I turned my head. "What?" I was filming the speeches. Everything stopped. The speeches, the confrontation. The attack, all of it, recorded. My father didn't know it yet, but the moment he flipped my wheelchair, he destroyed himself. At the hospital, doctors rushed me into emergency care. The next 6 hours were the longest of my life. Because of the trauma, they couldn't stop labor. My daughter arrived early, tiny, fragile, perfect. When I finally heard her cry, I broke down completely. I'd never felt relief like that. The doctors monitored her closely, but she survived. Against every terrifying possibility, she survived. I named her Lily, and while I held her for the first time, a police officer entered my hospital room. His expression was serious. "Ms. Carter, we need a statement." That's when I learned the truth. Several guests had given witness reports. Rachel had turned over the recording. 3 different camera angles existed. Neighbors' security systems had captured additional footage. The evidence was overwhelming. Dad couldn't deny anything. Neither could Tyler. The arrests happened 48 hours later. My father was charged with felony assault on a disabled person and aggravated assault involving a pregnant victim. Tyler wasn't charged for the attack, but investigators uncovered text messages. Lots of them, messages discussing how to pressure me into giving away my property, messages celebrating the plan, messages mocking my disability. When relatives learned the truth, the family exploded. People who had supported Dad for years suddenly saw him clearly. My aunt cut contact, my uncle cut contact, family friends disappeared overnight. Tyler became radioactive. Nobody wanted anything to do with him. Then came another twist, one I never saw coming. During legal proceedings, my attorney discovered something buried inside my father's finances. Years earlier, after my accident, he had secretly accessed money from a trust my grandmother established for me, money intended for my medical care, money I never received. Nearly $80,000 gone. The investigation expanded. What began as assault became financial fraud. My father wasn't just facing prison anymore, he was facing financial ruin. The trial lasted months. Dad insisted he was innocent, claimed the wheelchair tipped accidentally, claimed I exaggerated. Then the jury watched Rachel's recording. The courtroom became silent. The video showed everything. The demands, the threats, the shove, the impact, the screams. There was no explanation, no misunderstanding, no defense, just truth. The verdict arrived in less than 3 hours. Guilty, on all major counts. I watched as the man who spent my entire life controlling everyone finally realized he couldn't control this. He looked smaller somehow, older, defeated. Tyler wasn't criminally convicted, but the civil lawsuit devastated him. The messages destroyed his credibility. Employers stopped calling. Friends disappeared. Even his fiancée left after learning what happened. The house he wanted so badly, he never got anywhere near it. Instead, he ended up moving into a tiny apartment he could barely afford. Meanwhile, the civil settlement awarded me significant damages, enough to secure Lily's future. Enough to create a college fund, enough to ensure nobody could ever threaten our stability again. The strangest part came later. Months after the trial, I received a letter, not from Dad, from Tyler. For a long time, I couldn't bring myself to open it. When I finally did, I expected excuses, blame, manipulation. Instead, I found something different, an apology, not a perfect one. Not even a good one, but real enough to surprise me. He admitted he spent years competing with me, resenting me, believing Dad's lies, believing I somehow owed him. He admitted jealousy consumed him. For the first time, he accepted responsibility. I never responded. Some wounds don't heal that way, but I appreciated the honesty. Eventually, life became quieter. The court cases ended. The headlines faded, the gossip stopped, and I focused on Lily. Every morning I wake up and see her smile. Every night I thank God she survived that day, because things could have ended differently. One shove, one moment of rage, one act of entitlement, that was all it took. My father wanted my house, instead he lost his freedom. My brother wanted my future, instead he destroyed his own. And me, I kept everything they tried to take. My home, my dignity, my daughter, my life. Sometimes people ask whether I regret reporting my father, whether I feel guilty. Whether family should have been protected, my answer is always the same. Family doesn't demand your home, family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't flip a wheelchair carrying an 8-month pregnant woman, and family definitely doesn't stand there while she screams on the floor. The day those sirens arrived, I thought my life was ending. I was wrong, it was finally beginning, because sometimes the worst betrayal becomes the thing that sets you free. And every time Lily laughs while running through the house they tried to steal, I remember the promise I made while lying on that floor. You'll regret this, I was right.